Hi, welcome to the School of Networking. I'm Tim Vasquez, along with Jeff McKissick, the guru, and we're about to get into it, talking about networking, business networking, and how that's going to increase your ROI. But how do you? So I'm going to start off the questioning with this. You know, you want to build rapport.
Yes.
With the people, but like it's not just the singular that you're looking for. You know, it's okay for these one-on-ones, but it's about a numbers game, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We all have those funnels, and any type of sales you're in, and let's face it, if you're watching this video, you're probably in some type of sales. If that's the case, we all know the numbers game. You start with the funnel up here, and you try to narrow that funnel down to the point that you go from suspects to prospects to buyers. But that's a journey in and to itself. Part of that process is rapport building, is building what we refer to, and I certainly didn't coin this phrase, it's been used by too many people over too many years, building the know, like, and trust dynamic, because it's been said for time immemorial, it seems, in business, that people do business with those they know, they like, and they trust. And that's true in business and companies, corporations. If you look at brand names, why do people keep going back to Apple? Why do people keep going back to some of these major brands, you know, Nordstrom's or whoever in the retail market?
Like a Coca-Cola or McDonald's.
Coca-Cola, yeah. Why do they do it? Because there's a known commodity to that name. They know the name, they know the brand, they know the reputation. They like that name, that brand, that reputation, that experience, and therefore they trust it. Well, believe it or not, what those companies and corporations have been doing for all these years at that level, we're going to bring down and show you how you can build that same rapport at a person-to-person level. And not just in the opportunities that you think of, the overt ones, where you go to a networking group, go to a chamber of commerce, go to these different groups. But what about on an airplane? What about an elevator? What about when you're at a friend's party and someone asks that $1 million question, so, Tim, what do you do for a living? How do you actually maximize those opportunities? First of all, how you realize them for what they are. They're an opportunity to network. Then how do you leverage and maximize them for that effect? This course is going to help you broaden that perspective of what networking is and what networking can be to help you build your business.
So what you'll be bringing into this, the trust,
know, like, and trust.
Know, like, and trust. Yeah. And you're, you know, and you talked about the big names that do this, and what this course is about is going to bring, like, even this, you know, you may not have a brand name like the Dells or the McDonald's or the Coca-Colas and stuff, but you can compete on their level.
Absolutely.
You know, on that aspect of it, of networking.
Yes.
And breeding familiarity is what it is.
It's a time game. And you've got to understand that from the get-go. When you are truly doing networking, it takes time and it takes commitment. It's no less than going to the gym and working out, no less than training for a marathon or whatever, learning a new language, learning whatever new skill set. And for many of this, may be learning a new skill set, truly. But it's going to take time, and you've got to give yourself over to that time process to build the know, the like, the trust dynamic so that you can do proper networking. This is not a chia pet. You don't add water and overnight, you're a networker. It takes time. I see so many people, Tim, and I've seen them, good Lord, over the years, that come into the groups, they've never been in networking before, and yet they expect to walk out from day one with some quality introduction referral in hand. People don't know you yet, and yet you want them to open up their Pandora's box of trusted friends, family, and colleagues to you when they don't know if you're worth that introduction yet. It takes time to build that trust. So the first thing I'm going to forewarn you about is understand this is not going to be an overnight process. I'm not going to tell you that. It's not. There will be certain techniques, some hacks, if you will, along the way that you can very, very quickly employ that will quicken the pace in the process. But you've got to commit to the time and the process to truly build your network. It's been said that your network is your net worth. And there is something to be said for that. You are building relationships in networking that can benefit you in ways that you don't even realize right now. That plumber, you say, well, Jeff, I don't have plumbers as part of my prospect. Yeah, but do you have a house? Do you ever need a plumber? Well, that's probably the one you're going to call. Why? Because after weeks and months of spending time with that person in the group, you know them, you like them, you trust them. And they're not going to do you wrong because they got to see you every week or every month in that networking group. So you're building out all kinds of resources for yourself personally and professionally if you go into it with the right mindset.
I think you said something very salient, because we both experienced this, is the fact that people going into groups in, one and done.
Yeah.
Not building that rapport.
Yeah.
But they may not end up liking the group, so they go somewhere else. Now that's a possibility.
That's a possibility.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
But if you're not engaged, let's say you find the group that you like.
Yeah.
But if you're not engaged and you start selling right off the bat, I mean, that's a big no-no.
Absolutely.
That kind of goes
people
into
off.
this.
That
yeah.
will turn. You can't just go in there and start selling the room. And not only that, but that's the wrong approach anyway. That's not what networking is about. Networking is about turning that room, educating the room, not selling the room, educating the room to be your sales force. Let's say you have 10 people in that networking group. Hopefully there'll be more, but let's say you have 10. It's been said that the average person, I'm not even talking about on social media now, I'm talking about the average person offline, has 250 people in their sphere of influence. When you calculate in friends, family members, coworkers, people they go to country club with, people they go to church with, people who are in their social sphere and on their radar, 250. So when you walk into a room of 10 people, those 10 people actually represent 2,500 potential contacts. So it would be foolish for you to go in and try to sell those 10 people on your product and service when they actually could open up the doors to 2,500 potential prospects if you go at it with the right mindset.
And also that mindset being prepare to make the time for it.
Yes.
It's not an overnight.
Right.
So I think that's so important, because
Oh, yeah.
That's probably the number one mistake I see made amongst networking groups and with individuals, is they come into one and done. You never see them again. And to me, that's one of the biggest mistakes.
It is. And another one, and those who, if you've been in networking before or for a while, you've seen this. Someone loses a job. They come into a networking group trying to now start the know, like, and trust process, and hopefully someone in the room will give them a hot lead for a new job or a new position. But again, we don't know you. We haven't had a chance yet to like you or trust you, but you're wanting us to put our reputations on the line for you coming into the group for the first time. This is why your network is your net worth, because I've also seen people who were truly invested in the process, who had been vetted, who had been ingrained in these groups for months and years, and they lost their job. And then they come into the group and say, hey, I just found myself out of work. I'm looking for a new position. Oh, the people in those groups are moving heaven and earth to try to help them find a position, because they knew them, they liked them, they trust them, and knew that they could give, with all good confidence, a referral, an introduction to that person out of work to someone in their network, because they knew what the result would be. They knew that person wouldn't let them down or embarrass them.
It goes back to repetition.
Absolutely. Repetition builds familiarity. And that's part of know, like, and trust.
Yeah, that is. I mean, that's almost bottom line. What's a typical mistakes to avoid? Again, it doesn't matter if you're a newbie or an experienced person, because we know an experienced person that makes the same mistake over and over again on his elevator speech. It's maddening. It's absolutely maddening. But people remember him, but for the wrong reasons. It is what it is. But what are typical mistakes in that regard?
I think the first one we've already mentioned, that is to not truly invest yourself in the time it takes to build that rapport within the group. I think a second one is trying to sell the room, which we just addressed as well. Another one is not taking advantage of one-on-ones. We'll get into that in another module.
Yeah.
Not taking advantage of the one-on-ones, because that truly is the gold in these networking groups. It's not in staying up and giving a 30-second, 1-minute elevator speech. It's taking the time to meet with people in the group one-on-one to learn more about each other's business and really, really build that rapport in that network. I would think maybe a fourth one is getting a little bit too comfortable in the groups to the point that you think, oh, I could skip this week, or I could skip that week, and people start backing off. And I've seen this, and those of you who've been networking for a while, you've seen it too. Hopefully you're not that person. But I've definitely seen it, and people get a little bit lackadaisical. I'm sorry, out of sight is out of mind. And if you truly want to be there, you need to be there. You need to be in the moment, and you need to be in the room. You need to have your butt in that chair as much as you can. I'm not saying you can't skip here and there, and we all know things come up. But you need to be committed to the group and committed to the process. And I don't care if this is a chamber. I don't care if this is a BNI or independent group. I don't care if this is a trade association. I don't care what group we're talking about. You will get into it, or excuse me, you'll get out of it what you put into it. There's a direct correlation.
The big boys don't take days off. The Dr. Peppers and the Coca-Colas and the Dell Computers and the big name brands. Why do they keep branding? Because familiarity again.
Yep.
And that's the reason they're on top. They're keep out of sight, out of mind, just like
Yep.
you said. Once they stop, people are going to forget about them. What's the next big thing?
Yep.
Don't you think Burger King wants McDonald's spot?
Sure they do.
Absolutely they do.
Yep.
And they're both competitive in their markets for, again, for the burger market.
Yep.
It's still 1 and 2 though. But if Burger King decided, not so much, we're tired of fighting this game, let Wendy's do it. Wendy's will leapfrog over Burger King.
Well, and just again, bringing it down to the level most of our people are at watching this. If you are a financial advisor, if you're a residential real estate agent, if you're a chiropractor, if you're a PNC insurance agent, you're going to these groups, the weeks you take off could well be the weeks that someone flies in for the very first time and someone could use your service. I no kid you not. I had a guy years ago who was a financial advisor. He was there week after week. He was religiously there every week. Well, there was a lady that came in that took his business card that over a year later called him. She became his biggest single client with over 7-figure investment into him as her financial advisor.
Wow.
She met him once. But what had happened if he gotten slack and not been there the day she was there? He would not have had his number one client. You can't just approach this willy-nilly. You have to be committed.
Which, again, talks about time. You've got to commit the time.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things that we'll be talking about in this course that are going to be so valuable to you. But you'll hear this, the trust like.
No like and trust.
No like and trust. I'm reversing. I'm dyslexic, so I'm reversing everything. So, but on the no like and trust, we'll be bringing that up throughout the course of this, these series here.
It's core.
Yeah, it is. It's core. And, I mean, my gosh, you're in for a wild ride with this, a fun one, with some very salient tips, things to do and not to do. And boy, are there things not to do that you might be doing that we're going to advise you not to do anymore. And I had a guy, I went to a networking thing for business veterans. Here's a big no. I'll give you an example of a big no-no. So, I was doing the presentation. I was doing the 15-minute speech. So I'm doing my presentation, and there was a little breakdown with the equipment. So in that meantime, I said, let me hear your 30-second elevator speeches. And I'd critique them as we're going around the room. Then the last guy said, he talked about the 30-second elevator speech, but at the end of his 30-second elevator speech, he says, I don't know why I'm telling you this. You can't afford my services. And every mouth dropped because he had been vested in that room, but the truth came out about what he was really talking about. If you say that, yeah, Jeff. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, he actually said that. And I said, you and I need to talk after this presentation. We're going to talk.
Oh, my gosh.
And they almost ran him out with pitchforks and fire and flames, like he's the town ghoul. Because it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. But that's one mistake. Don't tell people they can't afford your services.
But beyond even the mistakes.
Yeah.
And if you're watching this, and this is the free module you're watching right now, you think, why am I even paying for this? Jeff, I've heard this stuff before. I'm not a betting man, but if I were, I would bet that there are going to be things in different modules in this course that have never been in your thought process or radar before. Markets, opportunities, verticals, approaches that you have never thought of before. If you get one single nugget that lands you a sizable deal or contract or client, your ROI is secured. I would venture to guess you're going to have more than one, because you're going to be learning principles throughout this course that you're going to be able to apply to a number of different types of groups, and we'll get into those, as well as a number of different types of opportunities that will arise through those groups.
And you got some gold nuggets.
Hidden
gold nuggets. And I think at the end of the series, you're really going to give the super secret, looking around, whispering, clandestine tip that's just going to blow it open.
Well, there's one towards the end for sure.
Yeah.
That my guess is not on most of your radars. that could be your next gold mine opportunity. But beyond that, at the very end, one of the things we're going to be talking about is, what if you wanted to start your own networking group? Okay, pump the brakes on this one, because before you go down that road, as someone who has run 3 weekly successful groups for over a decade in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and helped start 14 others around the Metroplex area, I can tell you the cost that you need to count, even to the point of how do you find the venue? How do you find your leadership team? How do you pick your time? How do you market for little to no dollars to get it started? All of these things that will easily be worth the entire price of this course, just in your time of not having to go through trial and error to do it right the first time. So all of that and more, as the saying goes, we're going to be covering here, even to the point of what are the types of groups? How do you find and research these groups? How do you go into these rooms prepared in all regards, not only for your 30-second, but even to the point of where do you strategically sit in the room? Also, how do you craft that elevator speech, not just for use in that room, but also outside in those elevator and airplane opportunities? We're going to be talking about happy hours and mixers. We're going to be talking, I know that's one of your favorite areas.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about even LinkedIn and using it as a tool for your networking and how you follow that. We're going to be talking about the one-on-ones and how do you conduct a proper professional one-on-one. How do you properly do email intros? How do you properly receive and follow up on email intros? All of this and more you're going to be learning in this process. And it is a process. So I hope you have your pen handy and ready to go, because once we start, it ain't going to stop anytime soon. And you had better be ready for what's coming, because it's going to be like opening the proverbial fire hydrant.
Well, I was going to, I'm not going to spill the beans. But anyway, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. We hope this intro module will give you a little taste about what we're going to be doing and what we're talking about. It's well worth your time, well worth, I mean, the videos in itself, I think the longest one might be over 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get a
We try to break it down to bite size.
Yeah, so we don't want to make it too long, like this opening intro thing. But again, thank you guys so much. I'm Tim Vasquez, Jeff McKissick, and you're watching the Skill of Networking. And again, thank you in advance. We'll be getting into this very shortly. Thank you.
See you in the course.